He caught her arrow midair, and now she must marry him, and now there is no refusal. The floating world of Eralis drifted in slow, graceful circles around a pale blue star. Huge islands of stone and crystal hovered in the sky, held aloft by invisible currents of energy that glowed softly like morning mist. Long bridges of light connected one island to another, and winged figures moved through the air like living shadows against the sun. On the highest platform of all stood Princess Velira. She was tall, with wide silver wings folded behind her back and eyes that reflected the sky itself. Today was not a day for beauty or ceremony. Today was a day for duty. The Skyborn Council had gathered, their voices low and serious as they watched her prepare. This was her trial of readiness. For generations, the heirs of Eralis had proven their strength and honor through an ancient tradition. The challenger would fire a ceremonial arrow into the open sky. If no one caught it, the heir was declared worthy to lead alone. But if someone caught it, fate would bind them together. Their lives, their paths, their futures would become one. It had never happened in living memory. Velira believed it never would. She stepped forward, her wings spreading slightly as the warm air brushed against her feathers. The platform beneath her feet was smooth and glowing, carved with symbols older than the Skyborn language itself. Thousands of citizens hovered in the air or stood along floating balconies, waiting in silence. At the edge of the crowd stood a small group of visitors, humans. They did not have wings. They did not glow. They stood on the platform with heavy boots and metal tools, looking up at the sky as if it were something new and impossible. Their leader, Commander Elias Ward, adjusted a small device on his wrist and tried not to stare. This was humanity's first official visit to Eralis. Elias had trained his whole life for moments like this. First contact, diplomacy, standing between worlds that did not yet trust each other. But no training had prepared him for floating cities and people who treated the sky like a road. He was supposed to observe, nothing more. Velira lifted the ceremonial bow. It was not a weapon of war. Its surface shimmered with soft light, and the arrow it held was made of pure energy shaped like crystal. Her voice carried across the open air. I, Velira of the high sky, cast my will to the winds, let fate answer. She released the arrow. It shot upward fast and bright, cutting a glowing line through the sky. The crowd gasped as it rose higher and higher, shrinking into a shining dot. Elias watched without thinking. His eyes followed the motion, his body reacting before his mind caught up. The arrow curved in the air, guided by invisible currents, and began to fall back down, straight toward him. Time seemed to slow. The device on his wrist flashed, reacting to the sudden movement. His reflex system kicked in, a piece of human technology designed for pilots and rescue teams. His muscles moved on instinct, not choice. He reached out. His hand closed around the glowing arrow. The world went silent. The energy did not burn him. It did not explode. It simply faded, leaving behind a small crystal shard resting in his palm. Every Skyborn in the air froze. Velira's wings stiffened. Her breath caught in her throat. She stared at the human, disbelief and anger mixing in her eyes. The elders of the council rose slowly from their seats. Their leader, an ancient Skyborn with wings like faded gold, spoke in a voice that echoed across the platform. The bond has been made. Elias blinked. The what? Murmurs spread through the crowd like a rising wind. Velira stormed forward, her wings flaring wide. You were not supposed to do that. I didn't mean to, Elias said quickly, holding up the crystal. It just fell. The sky does not just fall, human, she snapped. The elder raised a hand, calling for silence. By our oldest law, when the arrow is caught, fate chooses a bond. Princess Velira and the catcher are now bound. Elias felt his stomach drop. Bound how? He asked carefully. The elder's eyes softened just a little. By life, by duty, and by union. The meaning hit him like cold water. You mean marriage? Velira turned away, her fists clenched. Yes, that is exactly what he means. The human delegation erupted in whispers. Elias stepped back, shaking his head. This has to be a mistake. I didn't agree to anything. Velira spun back toward him. Neither did I. The elder's wings rustled as he spoke again. Fate does not ask for agreement. It only asks for courage. Elias looked at the crystal in his hand. It felt warm, almost alive. He had crossed space to build peace, not to accidentally marry an alien princess. This isn't how humans do things, he said. We choose. Velira met his gaze, and for a moment her anger faded into something else. Curiosity, confusion. We do not, she replied. We trust the sky. The council declared the ceremony complete. The crowd slowly began to move again, buzzing with excitement and shock. Some skyborn looked pleased, others looked worried. Elias was escorted away by his team, his mind spinning. Velira remained behind, staring at the open sky where her arrow had once flown free. That night, the floating city glowed with soft lights like a field of stars. Velira stood alone on a balcony, her wings folded tight around herself. A guard announced Elias' arrival. He stepped forward, careful, unsure if he was about to start a war or an apology. "I didn't come to insult your people," he said. "I swear." Velira studied him. He was smaller than most skyborn, no wings, no glowing marks. Just a human in a simple uniform, looking tired and out of place. "And yet you changed my life in one heartbeat," she replied. Elias exhaled slowly. "I don't believe in fate." Velira looked out over the floating lights. "Neither did I not like this." There was a long silence between them. Finally, Elias spoke. "Where I come from, bonds only mean something if both people want them." Velira turned back to him. "Where I come from, bonds mean something because they cannot be broken." Their eyes met, two worlds trying to understand each other. Elias held up the crystal shard. "Then maybe this isn't about marriage. Maybe it's about what happens when two very different skies collide." Velira didn't smile, but the tension in her wings softened. "Perhaps," she said, "or perhaps the sky has a strange sense of humor." Far above them, human ships hovered beside skyborne skycraft, their lights blinking in slow, peaceful patterns. Neither of them knew it yet, but the arrow Elias had caught had not just bound two people. It had bound two worlds. Morning came to Eralis without a sunrise. The light did not rise from a horizon. It simply grew brighter, like the sky itself had decided to wake up. Soft gold and blue colors spread across the floating islands, and the crystal buildings began to glow from within. Princess Velira stood at the edge of her chamber's open balcony, watching the city below. Skyborn citizens moved through the air in gentle streams, their wings catching the light. Everything looked peaceful. She did not feel peaceful. Behind her, her advisors waited in silence. They knew better than to speak first when her wings were held so tightly against her back. "The council will meet within the hour," one finally said carefully. "They wish to announce the bond to the people." Velira closed her eyes. "They wish to turn my life into a public story." "The people already believe it is," the advisor replied. She turned away from the balcony. "Belief does not make it true." Across the city, in a guest chamber built for humans, Elias Ward sat on the edge of his bed and rubbed his face with both hands. He had not slept. The room was beautiful in a strange, quiet way. The walls were made of smooth crystal that shifted colors based on the light outside. There were no sharp corners, no hard metal, no screens. It felt more like standing inside a living thing than a building. His team stood nearby. Lieutenant Harper leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "So," she said, "you went to another star system and accidentally got engaged to a princess." Elias let out a tired breath. "When you say it like that, it sounds worse." "Is there a better way to say it?" she asked. He shook his head. A soft tone filled the room. The door opened without being touched. A skyborn messenger floated inside. "The council requests the presence of the human commander." Elias stood. His heart beat a little faster. "I guess this is where I find out if I started a peace treaty or an interstellar problem." The council chamber was wide and open, shaped like a circle of floating platforms connected by bridges of light. Skyborn elders hovered or stood around the ring, their wings moving slowly. Velira stood near the center. She did not look at Elias when he arrived. The lead elder spoke. "Today, we honor the bond formed between sky and ground, between our people and humanity." Elias stepped forward. "With respect, I don't think either of us agreed to that." A low ripple of sound moved through the chamber. Velira finally turned to face him. Her eyes were sharp, but there was something else there now, not just anger, thought. "Our laws do not change because someone feels uncomfortable," she said. Elias met her gaze. "Human laws do." The elder raised a hand. "Then this is why fate brought you here." Elias wanted to argue, but Velira spoke first. "What if fate made a mistake?" she asked. The chamber went silent. No Skyborn had ever said those words aloud before. The elder studied her carefully. "The sky does not make mistakes." Velira's wings lifted slightly. "The sky does not live our lives either." Elias felt a strange feeling in his chest, respect. He hadn't expected that from her. The council began to debate, voices rising and falling like wind. Some elders spoke of tradition, of stability, of the power of symbols. Others spoke of risk, of humans being too different, too unpredictable. Elias stood still, listening. For the first time, he realized something important. This was not just about him and Velira. This was about what the Skyborn would become. After the meeting ended, Velira walked out onto a quiet sky bridge. The air was cooler here and clouds drifted far below. Elias followed, keeping a careful distance. "You challenged them," he said. She did not look back. "So did you?" He leaned on the glowing railing. "I didn't plan to, I just don't like being told my future is decided." Velira finally faced him. "Neither do I, but I was raised to believe that the sky knows better than I ever could." "And now?" he asked. She hesitated. "Now I'm not sure what I believe." They stood in silence, watching a group of young Skyborn fly in wide circles below, laughing as they chased each other through the air. "Where I come from," Elias said softly, "leaders are chosen by people, not by arrows, not by chance." Velira tilted her head. "And does that always work?" He smiled a little. "No, but at least when it fails, it's our failure, not something we blame on the sky." Later that day, the city opened its main plaza to the public. Skyborn citizens gathered in huge numbers, hovering in the air or standing on floating platforms. Human crew members watched from the edges, feeling very small. Velira and Elias stood together at the center. The elder raised his voice. "Today we celebrate a bond that reaches beyond the sky." The crowd cheered, but not everyone cheered. Some wings folded tight, some faces looked unsure. A Skyborn noble stepped forward. His wings were dark, his posture sharp. "This bond weakens us," he said. "We trust our future to someone who cannot even fly." A few voices agreed. Elias took a step forward before Velira could speak. "I can't fly," he said. "That's true, but I crossed the space between stars to stand here, not because fate told me to, because I chose to." The crowd quieted. "I don't want your power," Elias continued. "I don't want your throne, I want your people to know something about mine. Humans don't follow the sky, we follow each other." Velira looked at him, surprised. "And when we fall," he added, "we get back up." Together, there was no cheering this time, just silence. But it was a different kind of silence, a listening one. That evening, Velira invited Elias to walk the outer bridges of the city. The sky was darker now, filled with stars and distant ships. "Why did you speak for us?" she asked. He shrugged. "I was really speaking for myself." She almost smiled. They passed a group of Skyborn children who hovered close to the bridge, whispering and pointing at Elias' boots. One finally called out, "Do humans really walk on worlds that don't float?" Elias laughed. "All the time." Their eyes went wide. Velira watched the moment carefully. She saw something she had never seen before. Wonder, not fear, not pride, just wonder. As they continued, she asked, "If this bond truly cannot be broken, what will you do?" Elias thought for a long time before answering. "I'll do what humans always do when we don't understand something," he said. "I'll learn, I'll ask questions. And I'll try to make something good out of it." She nodded slowly. Above them, a human ship passed close to a Skyborn skycraft. For a moment, their lights reflected off each other, bright and steady. Velira felt something shift inside her. Not acceptance, not yet, but possibility. Later that night, she stood alone again on her balcony. Far away on a human ship, Elias looked out through a window at the floating city. Two worlds separated by space, by sky, by belief, and now somehow connected by a single moment in the air. Neither of them knew what the bond would become, but both of them knew one thing. The future of Eralis and humanity would not be decided by an arrow. It would be decided by choice. The day of the trials arrived with a sky full of moving clouds. They did not drift like normal clouds. These were living sky currents, long flowing shapes of light and wind that curled and twisted around the floating islands. The Skyborn believed these currents carried the will of the sky itself. Princess Velira stood at the edge of the highest platform, her wings stretched wide. Below her, the air moved in slow, powerful waves. This was the first trial. Elias stood beside her, wearing a light flight harness given by the Skyborn engineers. Thin lines of glowing energy wrapped around his arms and chest, ready to lift him if he fell too far. "I still don't like this part," he said, looking down. Velira glanced at him. "You cross the stars in a metal box, but a little air makes you nervous," he smiled. "When you put it that way, I sound very brave." The elder's voice carried across the platform. "The trial of the wind begins. You must cross the currents together. If one falls, both fail." Velira took a deep breath and stepped forward. The air caught her wings and lifted her smoothly into the sky. Elias followed, the harness humming as it pulled him upward. The current pushed them sideways, then up, then down, like an invisible river in the air. Velira moved easily, reading the flow like a map. Elias struggled at first, spinning slightly as the wind pulled at him. "Left," she called. "No, your other left." He laughed nervously and corrected himself. A strong current hit them both at once, forcing them apart. Elias felt the harness strain. Velira reached out, grabbing his wrist. "Don't fight it," she said. "Move with it." He nodded and relaxed his body. The wind lifted them together, carrying them over a wide gap between two floating islands. Below, the crowd watched in silence. When they finally reached the far platform, Elias landed hard, dropping to one knee. Velira landed beside him, steady and calm. The elder nodded. "You move as one." Elias looked up at her. "Guess I'm a fast learner." She offered him a hand. He took it and she pulled him to his feet. The second trial took place in the great council hall. This was the trial of the voice. Velira and Elias stood in the center of the ring of elders and nobles. Around them, skyborn citizens filled the air above and the platforms below. The elder spoke. "You must defend each other's worth before the people, not with strength, with truth." A noble stepped forward, wings sharp and dark. "The human is weak, he cannot fly, he does not hear the sky. How can he stand beside our future leader?" Velira opened her mouth to speak, but Elias stepped forward first. "She doesn't need someone who can fly," he said. "She needs someone who will stand when things get hard, someone who will question when things feel wrong." The noble turned to Velira. "And what do you say about him?" She took a slow breath. "He does not follow our ways, he does not fear our laws, but he listens, he learns, and he cares about people he barely knows. That is not weakness." The crowd murmured. Another voice called out, "The bond will change us." Velira lifted her chin. "Yes, it will, but change is not the same as loss." Elias looked at her, surprised. For the first time, she was not just defending him. She was defending the idea of them. The elder raised his staff. "The trial of the voice is complete." As they left the hall, Elias let out a long breath. "Public speaking is harder than flying." Velira almost laughed. The third trial was held at the edge of the world. The platform there was small, with nothing but open sky on all sides. The stars were already visible, even though the day was not yet done. The elder spoke quietly. "This is the trial of the heart. You will be given a choice." A skyborn attendant stepped forward, holding two glowing crystals. "The first crystal represents duty," the elder said. "If you choose it, the bond will remain, but your lives will be guided by the needs of Eralis alone." The second crystal glowed a softer light. "This one represents freedom. If you choose it, the bond will be broken. You will return to your own worlds." Elias felt his chest tighten. Velira stared at the crystals. The wind whispered around them. Elias spoke first. "If you choose freedom, I won't be angry." She looked at him. "And if you choose duty," he thought for a moment, "then I'll stay, not because I have to, because I want to see where this goes." Velira stepped closer to the crystals. Her entire life had been built around duty. Every lesson, every rule, every expectation. She looked at Elias, a human who had never bowed to her title, who had never treated her like a symbol. Just like a person, she reached out, her hand passed over the crystal of duty, then she took the crystal of freedom. The crowd gasped. Elias' heart dropped. Velira turned and placed the crystal into his hands. "I choose freedom," she said, "for both of us." The crystal glowed brighter, then faded into soft light that drifted away like mist. The elder stepped forward, his voice gentle. "The bond remains." Velira blinked. "What?" "The trial was not about breaking the bond," he said. "It was about choosing it." Elias stared at the elder, then at Velira. She let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. The crowd erupted, wings beating the air, voices rising in approval and shock. Later, as the stars filled the sky, Velira and Elias stood alone on a quiet bridge. "You surprised them," Elias said. "I surprised myself," she replied. He leaned against the railing. "So, what happens now?" She looked at the distant lights of human ships and skyborne skycraft moving together. "Now," she said, "we see what happens when two worlds stop being afraid of each other." Elias nodded. "Sounds like a good place to start." Above them, the sky currents glowed softly, no longer wild or uncertain, just open. Just waiting, the sky over Eralis felt different after the trials. The clouds still moved in their slow, glowing rivers. The floating islands still drifted in wide circles. The skyborne still filled the air with the soft sound of wings. But beneath all of it, something new had begun to grow. Questions. Princess Velira noticed it first in the way people looked at her. Some faces still showed pride, some showed hope, others showed worry. The bond between her and Elias had not just changed her future. It had opened a door that many Skyborn were not sure they wanted to walk through. Elias noticed it too, though in a different way. When he walked through the city, Skyborn citizens would stop and watch him. Some children waved, some elders whispered, a few turned away. He had become more than a visitor, he had become a symbol. One morning, as the light spread across the crystal towers, a Skyborn guard approached Velira's chamber. "Princess," the guard said, bowing slightly, "the council requests your presence, and the humans." Velira sighed softly. "Of course they do." Elias was already waiting outside, hands in his pockets, staring up at the sky. "Let me guess," he said as she joined him. "Important meeting, serious faces, big decisions." She nodded. "You are learning our ways too quickly." The council chamber was full when they arrived. Not just elders this time, but nobles, leaders from distant floating islands, and even a few representatives from other alien species who had traveled to Eralis after hearing about the bond. The air felt heavy. The lead elder stood. "We face a moment that will shape our future," he said. "The bond between Princess Velira and the human Elias has drawn the eyes of the stars. Some see opportunity, others see danger." A tall, Skyborn noble stepped forward. His wings were wide and dark, and his voice was sharp. "Our laws are being questioned," he said. "Our traditions are being tested. If we allow this bond to stand as it is, we tell the galaxy that the sky no longer guides us." Murmurs filled the chamber. Elias took a slow breath and stepped forward. "I didn't come here to change your sky," he said. "I came here to understand it, but understanding goes both ways." The noble turned to him. "Humans change everything they touch." Elias nodded. "Sometimes, but we also learn." "We listen, we adapt," another elder spoke. "And what would you have us adapt to, human?" Elias thought for a moment. "Choice," he said. "Not just in who we bond with, but in how we lead, how we make laws, how we treat those who are different." Velira felt the weight of the room shift. The noble laughed softly. "You would turn the Skyborn into humans." Elias shook his head. "No, I'd rather you stay Skyborn, just Skyborn who don't fear new paths." The council debated for hours. Some spoke of trade, of shared knowledge, of new alliances. Others warned of losing identity, of traditions fading into stories. Velira listened to every word. When the room finally grew quiet, she stepped forward. "I was born to follow the sky," she said. "I was taught that every path is written before we walk it, but this bond showed me something else." She looked at Elias. "It showed me that paths can be chosen." The chamber was silent. The lead elder lowered his head slightly. "What do you ask of us, princess?" "I ask for a new law," Velira said. "One that says no bond, no crown, no duty is forced by fate alone, that the voice of the people matters as much as the voice of the sky." Gasps spread through the room. The noble's wings flared. "This is madness." Elias spoke calmly. "This is trust." The council withdrew to discuss. Outside, Velira and Elias stood on a wide platform overlooking the city. "You didn't have to stand with me in there," she said. He shrugged. "Felt like the right place to be." She studied him. "You could leave. Your people are waiting. Your stars are far from here." "I know," he said, "but so are yours." Below them, a group of Skyborn workers and human engineers worked together on a new bridge made of both crystal and metal. Velira watched them quietly. A sudden movement caught her eye. A Skyborn messenger flew toward them, wings beating fast. "The council has made its decision," the messenger said. They returned to the chamber. The lead elder spoke slowly. "We will not break our traditions, but we will not ignore what stands before us." He turned to the crowd. "We will create a new council, one that includes the Skyborn and our allies among the stars. Laws will be shaped by both the sky and those who walk beneath it." Elias felt a rush of relief. Velira closed her eyes for a moment. The nobles stormed out, wings snapping with anger. The crowd erupted into voices, some cheering, some arguing, some simply stunned. That night, the sky above Eralis filled with light. Skyborn festivals were not planned. They happened when emotion overflowed. And tonight, the city glowed brighter than ever. Music drifted through the air, soft and echoing. Lights danced between the floating islands. Human crew members joined Skyborn citizens in wide-open plazas, sharing food, stories, and awkward laughter. Velira stood at the edge of the main platform, watching it all. Elias joined her, holding a small cup filled with a glowing Skyborn drink. I think I just tasted something that might be alive, he said. She smiled. It probably is. They stood together in comfortable silence. Do you ever miss the sky being simple? Elias asked. Valera thought about it. Sometimes, but simple skies don't lead anywhere new. Far above them, a group of human ships flew in formation beside skyborne skycraft, their paths weaving together like threads in the dark. A small skyborne child flew up to Elias, hovering in front of his face. Are you really from another world? The child asked. Elias nodded. I am. The child's eyes sparkled. Is the ground scary? He laughed. Only when you forget to look where you're going. The child giggled and flew away. Valera watched the moment, her wings relaxing slightly. Later, as the festival began to fade, a quiet tension settled in the air. A skyborne guard approached, his voice low. Princess, human, there are ships at the edge of our space, not ours, not human. Elias' smile faded. Who are they? He asked. They belong to the Varkesh Empire, the guard said. They have been watching our world for a long time. Valera felt a chill. They believe strength comes from control. Elias looked up at the dark sky. And what do they believe about bonds? The guard hesitated. That they are tools. The stars above seemed to dim. From the balcony of the highest tower, Valera and Elias watched distant lights move slowly closer. Elias spoke quietly. Looks like our story just got bigger. Valera folded her wings, standing tall. Let them come, she said. They will not find a sky that stands alone anymore. Below them, skyborn and humans continued to move together through the glowing city, unaware of the eyes watching from the dark. Two worlds had chosen each other. Now the galaxy was about to notice. The lights of the Varkesh ships hovered at the edge of the sky like cold stars that did not belong. From the highest tower of Erales, Princess Valera watched them in silence. Their shapes were sharp and dark, nothing like the smooth, flowing designs of skyborne skycraft or the solid, simple lines of human ships. They did not glow with life. They glowed with control. Elias stood beside her, arms folded, eyes fixed on the distant fleet. They're not hiding, he said. That usually means they want to be noticed. Valera nodded. The Varkesh believe fear is the same as respect. Below them, the city was slowly changing. Skyborne guards took to the air in quiet patterns. Human crews moved between their ships, checking systems and speaking into small devices. There was no panic, but there was focus. The lead elder joined them, his wings moving slowly. They have sent a message, he said. They wish to speak. A large platform extended from the tower, forming a wide open space in the air. Moments later, a Varkesh shuttle descended. Its surface was dark metal, covered in sharp angles and glowing red lines. The ramp lowered and a tall figure stepped out. The Varkesh leader was taller than both Elias and Valera. His body was covered in smooth armor that looked grown, not built. His eyes glowed a deep orange and his voice carried easily across the platform. Skyborn, he said. Humans. You have created something that does not belong. Valera stepped forward, wings spreading slightly. We have created understanding. The Varkesh leader tilted his head. You have created weakness. Elias moved beside her. You came all this way to give a speech. The Varkesh leader looked at him. I came to offer you a place in the Empire, both of you, together or apart, it makes no difference. And if we say no, Elias asked, the leader's eyes glowed brighter, then others will decide for you. Valera felt the tension ripple through the air. She took a slow breath. We do not belong to your empire, she said. We belong to ourselves. The Varkesh leader laughed softly. Nothing belongs to itself for long. The shuttle lifted and disappeared back into the sky. Elias let out a breath. Well, that was friendly, the elder spoke quietly. They will return. That night, the city did not sleep. Skyborn and humans worked side by side, building defenses that did not look like weapons, energy fields that protected the floating islands, communication networks that connected every ship and skycraft into a single system. Elias moved through it all, listening, suggesting, connecting teams that did not share the same language but shared the same goal. Valera watched him from above, hovering in the air. He did not command, he did not order, he asked, and people answered. By morning, the sky above Erales was filled with light, not from ships or towers, but from thousands of small energy points forming a wide, glowing network. The Varkesh fleet moved closer. This time they did not stop. Their ships spread out, surrounding the floating world like a dark ring. The lead Varkesh ship sent another message. Last chance, the voice said. Step away from the bond, join us, or be alone. Valira looked at Elias. Elias looked at her. Neither spoke. They stepped forward together. Elias activated a small device on his wrist. The human and skyborne communication network lit up, sending a signal through every ship and tower. A voice echoed across the sky, not loud, not angry, clear. "This world is not alone," Elias said, "and neither are we." The glowing network brightened. Skyborne skycraft and human ships moved into formation, not in lines or ranks, but in wide, open patterns. They did not point forward, they connected to each other. The Varkesh ships hesitated. Their systems did not understand what they were seeing. The skyborne energy fields expanded, wrapping around the entire floating world like a soft, shining shell. Human ships fed power into it, their engines glowing as they shared energy instead of saving it for themselves. The shield did not push outward. It invited connection. The Varkesh leader appeared on a screen above the city. "What is this?" he demanded. Valira's voice carried across the sky. "This is what happens when strength is shared instead of taken." The Varkesh fleet tried to move closer, but their systems struggled against the shifting energy patterns. The shield did not block them. It confused them. Their ships slowed, then stopped, caught in a web of signals and light that did not attack but did not allow control either. The Varkesh leader stared in disbelief. "You built a defense without force," he said. Elias nodded. "We built a conversation." The leader's image faded. Moments later, the Varkesh ships began to pull back, their formation breaking as they retreated into the dark. The sky over Eralis slowly returned to its natural glow. A long silence followed. Then, a single cheer rose from the city. It grew and grew until the air was filled with the sound of wings and voices and laughter. Valira closed her eyes, relief washing over her. Elias let out a shaky breath. "I did not think that would work," she smiled. "Neither did I." Later, as the city settled into calm once more, Valira and Elias stood on the same balcony where it had all begun. The sky was quiet now, filled with stars that felt friendly instead of distant. "The Varkesh will tell others," Elias said, "about what they saw here." Valira nodded. "Let them. Stories travel faster than ships." Elias looked at her. "So what happens to the bond now?" She thought for a moment. "The bond is no longer a law," she said. "It is a choice for both of us, for everyone." He smiled softly. "I like that better." Below them, the first meeting of the new council began. Skyborne elders and human representatives sat together, speaking, listening, learning. Valira watched them, her wings relaxing fully for the first time in days. "My people believed the sky decided everything," she said. "But today we decided something for ourselves." Elias leaned against the railing. "Welcome to being human," she laughed, a light, surprised sound. "And you?" she asked. "What have you become?" He looked out at the floating world, the glowing bridges, the mix of ships and wings and lights. "I think," he said, "I've become a little skyborn." They stood together as the stars slowly turned above them. Far away, new ships would soon hear stories of a world that did not fall when tested. A world that did not fight with fear. A world that chose connection over control. And at the center of those stories would be two figures. A princess who learned to question the sky. And a human who reached up and caught fate in his hand, not to hold it,